dividend yield on top of Bitcoin's volatility. And that's why I've been campaigning on that Singapore should be that kind of micro strategy, but on a national scale, a Bitcoin refinery.
There are enough critics of MicroStrategy. My guest today needs no further introduction. You may have seen him during election period, and he's been known to be an advocate for Bitcoin. And he wants to, make a big change to Mountbatten. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining us today.
Thanks, Josh.
Jeremy, I'd like to say something also. You inspired me.
Is that so? How?
You inspired me to think of being an independent candidate. I mean, it's so refreshing, to see new voices, new faces. And I would like to show my admiration also for that courage to run for something.
Thanks.
What are your key thoughts also for post-election, everything that's happening?
On hindsight, it was impossible to win as an independent.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah. It really depends because I think we had like a whole mentality reset since COVID, right? Because for the younger voters, they don't know what they are seeing for the first time. Then for the older voters, the last time we had, social media wasn't in play. If you look at where Trump was doing with his recent elections, a lot of social media personality was involved. Going to the next one, it could be a case whereby a lot more AI is involved.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Will you be definitely running?
Yeah. I think, yes, I am definitely running. As to what party or independent, right now I'm leaning more towards being still independent. Yeah.
I'm sure you weigh your pros and cons also. And you see it as a long-term game, right?
Exactly. Also because I've been speaking to all different parties and there's a lot of reconstruction effort for the different parties. And it's very much a long process. Yeah, in a sense. Yeah. I think also because it's like, you go and hang out with them and you realize that just policy aside, okay, it's very simple user experience when it comes to volunteering, when it comes to taking track of resident issues, for example, follow-up, and then doing social media. It must be run like a business. Yeah, if you don't run the entire process like a business, and you use this sort of like 1950s technique for politics, not going to work. Yeah, and I feel like as all the political parties must try to capture their audience and capture the votes, basically be ready for people to give you money, right? When people want to take out their wallet and give you their vote, you must make it very seamless. Yeah. Right now, the experience for all the opposition is lacking. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I actually went on an overseas trip, business one, with a colleague. Then she lives in Mountbatten.
Is that so?
And she gave you a vote. She said, you got to
she voted overseas or what?
No, she was in Singapore.
Okay.
We went for the overseas.
Okay.
Yeah, so she said, you got to hear Jeremy Tan's election. I was like, oh. And I went to check, which you can also look for previous records of it.
Yeah.
I thought you spoke very well. And I'd like to give tip my hat to that.
Thank
you shared your points, and today I'd like to dive a bit deeper to find out more insights. And how about I kick things running off?
Sure, let's go.
Let's start with Bitcoin, because we all know you for having your ideas, drive to make Bitcoin a bit more adopted over here.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you this first question, because I've seen a bit on your website. You are proposing to create Bitcoin in Sing dollar terms. I think we have Go ETFs in Sing dollar terms.
Yeah.
And you also want to have it CPF investable.
Yeah.
Now, I give a bit of backdrop to everybody listening in also. Bitcoin, you mentioned also there's inflation proof. I do believe that also personally.
Yep.
I've also spoken on my own finance summit that it's probably better to be in Bitcoin than Gold. Although they all are an alternative asset. And Singaporeans are worried about cost of living and retirement because of the inflation. So you have an idea of having CPF be invested into that, which you believe is what many developed countries are doing already. US, UK, Canada, things they mentioned on your website. I'll leave links below. Anyone curious to learn more from Jeremy's point of view, check them out also. You feel that CPF can be invested there, and I think it sounds nice. But would you think that, firstly, the adoption may not be what you imagine, because I don't see that happening in Gold ETF. And secondly, our government is a very conservative government, saying cryptocurrencies are too speculative, not suitable retail. Have they gone too extreme on their end to adopt any of your ideas?
I think they've gone too extreme on punishing just the idea of cryptocurrency. Let's speak about two parts first, okay? The overall sentiment of what they are injecting into the economy with regards to cryptocurrency, right? I think maybe the end of this week, there's the DTSP rule starts kicking in. Basically, if you want to issue any form of payment token in Singapore, you need to be licensed under the DTSP framework. It just closes a jurisdictional arbitrage. What it means is that you cannot just pack your bags, fly from Sweden to come to Singapore, set up a tokenization thing, collect money here, and then fly out to Thailand, which is obviously going to have a lot of trouble, right? The reason why I tried to make Bitcoin front and center is because the sting of the FTX issue, right, has really made us too cautious to the point that I feel like we have lost a bit of a step with regards to becoming a financial hub, maintaining our status as financial hub. What I mean is this: if, for example, Gemini asked me, can I do an advertisement and say, oh, buy Bitcoin with Gemini, that is not allowed in Singapore. Crypto retail advertising, not allowed in Singapore. I cannot say buy Bitcoin, I cannot say buy Ethereum, I cannot say buy whatever, Solana, whatever, I cannot say all those. That, to me, is a step too far in the wrong direction, right? I think what you should be able to do is be able to level up the playing field with what the CFD providers are doing, like IG, for example. IG still can say, oh, buy gold, CFDs, all that kind of thing. They can, feature things on a bus, but right now, crypto 100% cannot. But what really is the risk tolerance? I think the risk is about the same. Huh? You mentioned about the gold ETF, the pickup rate is not high. It's because in your CPF, right, I think only up to 25%.
Yeah, there's a percentage.
Yeah.
I think it's 10.
I think it's 10, sorry, I think it's 10. I think it's 10% that is limited for you to buy gold. The gold ETF, the Spider Gold ETF, I think. So the question is, why? Right? Why is it 10%? Why is it not 15%? Why not 20%? I also don't understand why. But how are the rules set? Right? I think where I'm going with this is that it cannot be a case whereby you tell the citizens, we set these rules to protect you, but in the very same vein, you allow them to buy very risky catalyst stocks. The price don't move. You allow them to buy CFDs. You allow them to, Contra even, right? So all these are risky things out there already that you can buy as an uncle, auntie, you can do. But why is it that Bitcoin, with no counterparty risk, you cannot buy? In terms of you cannot go out there and use your CPF to buy. Why is it the case? Bitcoin and gold has no counterparty risk, right? But there's a difference with gold, which is gold quantities cannot be verified. You don't know which mountain has gold now. You don't know which sea has gold now. You don't know who is a better way to dig for gold. So why gold ETF not so much pick up? Also because you might be in a better position just trying to go for leverage long gold CFD position than trying to use your CPF to buy or buy bullion, right? So yeah, I think we moved too far in a step whereby we punish just the advertising the idea of Bitcoin. I think that's where I felt.
I think many fail to also realize that there's no advertisements. So that part, they are very strong in that stance. A very draconian thing.
Correct.
Because we see in US, for example, basketball arenas.
Oh, yeah.
Crypto.com, they're all sponsored.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bit too liberal.
Yeah.
But I do agree with your view that maybe some form should be allowed, or it should not be painted like, this is totally not suitable, it's pure gambling and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, even if you look at where Mumu, Tiger, how they do it, they say, we give one free Apple stock, right? If you start trading today. Do people, what is the time horizon of? And secondly, actually, I think Bitcoin is now trading with less volatility than the S&P 500, right? So it means you're buying a more risky asset than the S&P 500, no? So is the government want more risk or less risk? I think he has to make up his mind. And the last point is actually, I think the younger generation and actually even for the older generation that have caught up with social media, they're starting to read a lot on their own. I think we cannot cast this like too wide a net to say we'll protect you. I think when you have this style of government saying we will protect you, what happens is that you drive all this trading activity underground. That's the first order effect. The second order effect is when you always have this "we will protect you" mentality, people will fall for scams because they think that somehow a police report will help them recover their money or whatnot, right? And I think that's very dangerous. In Singapore, we should start to have policy change in terms of letting Singaporeans decide for themselves, right? Because I strongly believe that the reason why we have so high record number of scams in the world, record number of values for scams in the world, is because we've been led to believe there is a protection, there is a net to catch us. And I think that's very dangerous.
Okay, in a sense, we are too protected, or there's just sometimes not enough education, not enough exposure to hard discussions about losing money, correct?
Yeah. I think the education is go both ways, is that here is how people have made money, and here is how people have lost money. We tend to always focus on here's how people have only lost money, right? And I think that's not good, right? And I think it's best to just consent, for Bitcoin and crypto, okay? As I always said, I only care about Bitcoin, right? For the regulators to just focus on a few people like Crypto.com, Gemini, Coinbase, highly regulated, audited in the US, and say you should allow these guys to advertise for Bitcoin, retail advertising. And I think that's fine. You know why? Then there'll be fewer scams. People don't randomly click some Instagram link to go and buy Bitcoin with this, or And I think that's better. You just make it very clear. You can only buy from these few places if you want to have an actual token, and make the advertisement so clear, right? It's like, for example, you know that PayNow only works with 7 banks, something like that, right? Yeah, that is very clear already. Yeah.
I think allowing CPF money, that seems very far. Maybe I was thinking maybe you're trying to set a very high stretch goal in terms of policy change. Because CPF is always very rigid. But I do also agree that we should relax a bit on that advertisement portion, get a bit more awareness of it, and stop saying that it's totally gambling. I think that's really preventing adoption also.
I think the part about CPF, the reason why I say that the CPF, let me explain my position on why CPF thing. Okay. Ultimately, right, your CPF, you must treat it as if like it's a claim against the government, which is whatever CPF monies you hold is a claim against the government's promise. If the government has a lot of gold, you believe that CPF will be able to be redeemed. And we do have a lot of gold. We have at least 390 billion in official disclosed foreign reserves in gold. So you believe that CPF has money, correct? In the event that our trade flows get affected and we need to claim out our CPF, we are actually using the gold to be sold in the national market to pay us back our CPF. That's just assuming, right? Something very happened. So why is it that why I mentioned about using a CPF to invest in Bitcoin? Because your claim against the government, if the government holds enough Bitcoin, the government will always have a market internationally to pay back your CPF, right? And that's the key part of it. Your CPF is not this magical Singaporean dollar where you saw your shark face, no? It is just a claim against your government, right? And whether or not you believe the government will pay you back, you must check whether or not it has reserves. That's all. It's as simple as this. And Bitcoin, if you add Bitcoin to the reserve, then you believe the reserve is strengthening, not weakening. And how do we know this? The Bitcoin ETF is better performing than the gold ETF already.
And to respond on Bitcoin, maybe I can ask a bit more. Just now I caught you mentioning that you only own Bitcoin.
Okay, so no, I own Bitcoin and Bitcoin related products and a bit of hyperliquid, but never mind, that's for another discussion.
Maybe I round up some parameters, but
sure.
I want to find out a bit deeper in today's discussion, and maybe for everyone listening in also. What really is inside your portfolio now? Maybe if you can share a bit more, especially your perspective, decision making, and why are you doing it so differently than most traditional investors who are, I'm in the advisory space. Bonds, equities are traditional assets. Time proven at least. Widely accepted for retail.
Yeah.
Then you also shared before from other pods because I've seen him up. Do check out also. Jeremy has mentioned.
I'll say it so you don't have to say it.
Yeah, okay, that part I'll let you share what exactly it says. So maybe we can kick off that.
Okay, so the portfolio that I mentioned that I think Singaporeans should care about is called the B.I.T.C.H portfolio. B.I.T.C.H, B.I.T.C.H. Yeah. Bitcoin, indices, treasury or T-bills, C for CPF, H for housing, or you could call it HDB in Singapore also. And I would prefer you call it HDB if you haven't bought a house or you have a dying condo or whatever, because HDB is cheaper right? But of course, if you get access to freehold property, then the B.I.T.C.H portfolio is a modification of a very popular portfolio called the IV portfolio, IVY. The IV portfolio attempts to outperform or be in line with the S&P 500 with less volatility, at least half the vol. How is that so? The B.I.T.C.H portfolio is unique to Singapore because we have CPF. So in your CPF, you can do many wonderful things. I think this part your pod has covered quite a lot already, right? And even in your work. So I won't get into it. But having CPF inside your SA compounding at 4% is a very, very good thing. So you definitely try to max out every year when you can, right? And of course, before 50, 55, 50, yeah. Housing. If you have a rental property, good for you, right? But generally, in Singapore, because of the way, not because we have scarce land or whatever, but we have controlled scarce supply and land cost imbued into it, it means that housing prices will always continually trend up until the government chooses to change its idea about it being a retirement asset. So housing right now is still very good bet. Because don't forget, housing can go be devaluative environment like Japan, right? And then T is treasury or T-bill. So if you can ballot, you can get the I think 2%, right?
Oh, right now T-bills, 2%.
Yeah, about 2%, right? Yeah, if you can get, good for you. If not, then you just in savings account, which is your high yield savings account. I think got the Stand Chart one, all the UOB one. Basically, do all those things. I is your indices. Must always be invested in indices, right? So that will be your QQ, your VWRA, whatever CSP. Take your pick, right? Then B is Bitcoin. And the reason why you set this up is because it's all centered around interest rates. If interest rates go down, right, and money supply is flush in the market, your indices will do well, your housing will do well, your CPF will do well. Then your defense is from your Bitcoin, right?
CPF stagnant one.
No, I mean, okay at least you'll clear the floor rate Let's just say, you don't forget CPF there were years that they never make the 2.5%, 4%, no? Yeah, in the last 20 years, right, the effective rate got times we did before, below 2.5 4%.
You're saying the government investing, the government body investing the CPF?
As in your actual returns on your getting your 2.5 and 4%. I can show you the stat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in the last 20 years. So, because they adjust the rates, right, and they adjust the PL rate also, your age. So when interest rates go lower, the things that perform well are your risk on, right? So your Bitcoin, all that, your housing, all that, right? And then your indices, all that. But when risk off, rates higher, then you have defense in your portfolio also. So the B.I.T.C.H portfolio is offense and defense at the same time.
That one to match pure equity S&P 500
so now let's get to that. Now let's get to that, right? So the portfolio that I've been speaking about is the Radical portfolio made by this guy called Jeff Park on X. You can find him. I am more of the 60-40, and don't count my house. My house is a bit different. So yeah, so the 60-40. No, as in because for some for some Singaporeans, right, they have rental property, all that, right? So it's like it's a bit hard to tell them, hey, your portfolio should be like that in line. And then some people got like art, they got like watch, they got like supercar. In Singapore, my tell a lot of people like that. You tell them portfolio management, they're like, no. I have 3 houses, one in London, one in Australia. Doesn't work. But the B.I.T.C.H portfolio works for Singaporeans, general Singaporeans. Job, maybe married, one or 2 kids like that. The B.I.T.C.H portfolio works better. Of course, you cannot talk to my resident of Mountbatten. Resident of Mountbatten, their H is like maybe 7 houses like that. So the Radical portfolio is 60-40. Right now, the Radical portfolio is about being long 60 in Strike, which is MicroStrategy's preferred stock, right? That pays a dividend, and 40 in Bitcoin. I won't trouble your viewers right now, but you should go and check out the radical portfolio. But the idea is that you must be long resistance and short establishment at the same time, meaning all equities have a carry-on effect from interest rates. So that is what we call like the establishment, right? The establishment decides interest rates, money flow, M2 global supply, and then equities will have the performance effect. Bitcoin is the resistance effect. So Bitcoin is 40%. So you are long 60 in Strike, which is MicroStrategy's preferred, and 40 in Bitcoin. Go and check out Radical Portfolio, okay, by Jeff Park, because that one is a very interesting reason why it's structured that way. But I'm generally more into that portfolio right now, with a bit of hyperliquid on the side, rental property, and that's about it.
Oh, why not own MicroStrategy directly?
I do own MicroStrategy directly.
Okay, so 60% consists of a few formats of owning MicroStrategy.
Basically, my 60-40 is just variations of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
40% is Bitcoin, and then the 60 is like strategy mixed with Strike. And then sometimes I would buy MSTY or ULTY or IMSD, basically the yield products of Bitcoin. Sometimes
yield products of Bitcoin or yield products of MicroStrategy also.
Correct. Or I won't sell right the cover call. But now it's getting harder because the volatility is dropping really. So writing you sell your own cover call nowadays is a bit harder. It's not when Bitcoin volatility has dropped quite significantly, which is also better. I mean, in a sense,
I think viewers listening, some may not be very familiar with some of the terms.
Yeah.
MicroStrategy is a company that holds Bitcoin. A lot of them. The pioneer of.
They are the pioneer of what we call a Bitcoin treasury company. So they have financial engineering around Bitcoin. They create yield products such as Strive, and Strike to deliver dividend yield on top of Bitcoin's volatility. And that's why I've been campaigning on, that Singapore should be that kind of MicroStrategy but on a national scale, a Bitcoin refinery.
There are enough critics of MicroStrategy. I really think we relax on the crypto advertisement first.
It's okay because so here's my entire thesis and theory about why all these things matter here. With AI, the demand for commercial real estate officers is gone. It's completely gone. Trump holds a bigger bag of crypto than he does real estate already. All over the world, if commercial real estate goes down, it's because of AI. Then the question is, what real asset are you going to hold, right? And I think the real asset will be Bitcoin, right? And as for Singaporeans, when you're born into the system, you are generally not an asset holder. Your mother stays in a HDB. When you're born, you first want to get your BTO. Those to me are not freehold hard assets, right? Because as you can see, they are increasing a number of lease buybacks. So that's not a real hard asset. And lease buybacks, if you were to take a guess, the lease buyback values will go up or down. I think it will generally revert to the mean, which is, it will not be so attractive in the future, right? Bitcoin is the asset in the age of AI, when people are starting to believe less in real estate, commercial real estate, and you have a ripple-on effect.
I never saw it that way. I always saw it as Bitcoin will take over gold. Bitcoin taking over commercial real estate. I always, because I own REITs, so I always imagine businesses are adaptable.
Which you own? I haven't followed up on your portfolio.
So in Singapore's context, Fraser Sandboy Trust, Mapletree Industrial Trust. Healthcare, no. I particularly don't like the bigger healthcare REIT in Singapore.
Okay.
I looked in books. I thought that the direction wasn't what I was looking for. So my biggest holdings are Mapletree Industrial Trust, Fraser Sandboy Trust. Yeah, these are some of the things that I hold right now. So I always realized that real estate, they can always modify it or they can always adapt. It's not like, AI has changed workflow, we don't need so much space, it's totally gone case. I expect the REIT manager to adapt. Competition is always coming.
Singapore REITs different in the sense that they have regulatory capture. They are ahead of other people in delivering yield because they are working with the regulators to knowing which plot of land.
Regulators have built up this REIT industry from scratch.
Correct.
So we are one of the leading REIT markets. So we have that the distinction.
It's like having a yield. It's like I would say Singapore is you buy REITs, right? It's like buying a perpetual discount on everything you spend in life. Right?
That's the more concept. We don't go to the
I mean,
data center.
but data center is more. But data center is dangerous also because you look at data centers, right? And okay, that's a separate conversation. But
You mean hyperscalers?
yeah. And also with Johor SEZ coming out, there's another whole conversation.
I always think execution is different in Malaysia.
They
always have an alternative.
Yeah.
Yes, but then no, Nvidia has poured some money over there.
Yeah, and also you see with the way DeepSeek and Quen is coming about, it's really starting to challenge quite a bit of the data center model. I mean, that's why they had a bit of tank.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but on that point, just now you mentioned 60% into MicroStrategy stuff, and is that where you are drawing income from?
Okay, so I spend roughly 2 to 3K a month on it.
Okay.
I almost all meals are cooked at home. Almost all. Okay.
No helper, you cook yourself.
Now got helper, right? Yeah. So all meals cooked at home. So maybe my max maybe 3 to 4K. This is me, my wife, my 3 dogs. Around 3 to 4K maximum. Okay, no kids.
For both people.
Maximum.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's super low, by the way.
Yeah, it's 3 to 4K. I don't shop. I have not bought anything from Shopee or Lazada for 1 year. I think you saw the video, right?
Yeah, but she would definitely have her own expectation of lifestyle.
No. Whenever I see her clicking on Shopee website, I'm like, is this worth it? I just walk past, I look at computer, is this worth it? Then she's like, yeah, I mean, I think also with Shein nowadays, clothing can be quite cheap. Right? Okay, so income wise, Strike pays income. Sometimes selling cover calls pay income. Sometimes even just, I would generally sell cover calls to pay for expenses. That is just generally how I do it.
Which means using asset to milk out cash flow.
Yeah, but selling cover calls is technically not really taking your asset to make cash flow. It's a trade, right? It's a trade.
But for someone without the asset base, then they'll be exposed.
If you really wanted to think of dividend and just taking money from your asset, you just buy a whole bunch of Strike or Strive, and then they pay out the dividend. And you can just sit on your butt on the dividend.
Yeah. Understand.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised you don't have any other businesses providing you cash flow? Because I remember you had previous businesses before.
Yeah, I don't have any current businesses providing me cash flow. Unless your viewers want to offer me ownership.
Must be.
You want me to offer a stake? I'll gladly take it.
Maybe some board or somewhere you never reviewed.
Like what politicians do, right? Now go and see a board of director.
Then there's one meeting a year that 5,000 per month.
I think the going rate is like what, 5,000 a year, right? I think to be a board member.
No, you mean the amount they charge? No, it's 50 to 150K.
Lousy one lah. If you PAP, if you Timpailing, never different. No, you get 50K. No, yeah.
Yeah, just go for a couple of meetings.
You like me, I lose election. Then maybe 5K only.
Never mind. Next time you buy me. Hey, but for MPs, there's a allowance, right?
16K per month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yesterday I just met Tan Wu Ming. I think they really work like mad. Yeah.
I think you campaign what part-time
full-time
pay, part-time effort. Yeah.
Part-time job. Yeah. I guess no income from other businesses right now. There have been offers right now for me now after the election. But I need to be very careful
because you want to continue pursue a route 4 years later. You get yourself ready.
Correct.
Well, I love that. I mean, a lot of times we think of short-term planning. I kind of guess you are looking super long term. Even next term you can't get 50%.
Yeah.
Looks like you're gunning for more than one.
Yeah. I think generally I'm more open to like let's say B2B business ideas Like people say want to work with me, I say B2B better because at least there got buyer beware. It's not like I use my fame and popularity to sell a product.
Okay.
B2B is like the business still got to buy from another business, right? We just talking business. Still okay. That's still okay for me. But B2C a bit cannot. Yeah.
Hey, but back to the point, if everything is Bitcoin based, do you feel or do you fear at least that you might be overconfident? You are, if something goes terribly wrong, I know you won't believe Bitcoin will drop 50%.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes it's like we have to caution against our own overconfidence, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, okay, we talked about this briefly before we came here, which is about stocks also, right? Like you look at Circle's IPO. Do you know that because of okay, I had a friend who had a private placement for $5 million USD for Circle at $22. I tell you, because of the election, I run around, I never checked the chat properly. I am so disappointed I did not take out the offer. You know, like, that was an easy 10 bagger. And then it's like, walao, hey. Oh, that's so disappointing. Do I believe that the Bitcoin, I'm overconfident in Bitcoin? No. Because if you look at where US dollar is going with the debasement and the printing, right? Eventually in the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be 1-to-1. It's going to be 1-to-1.
1 against Sing dollar.
Against Sing dollar. So it affects your portfolio. You need to think about those things. And people say like, wow, cannot be lah.
Yeah,
Don't forget.
Extreme, eh?
Don't forget, in 2021, US dollar to Sing dollar was 1.45. In
1.45
to 1.
Before global financial crisis, 1.78, 1.8.
And in 2012, when I first bought Bitcoin, it was around 1.2, 1.19 or so. So don't be surprised going to 1.1. And the way they are printing, right, is very scary. It's $37 million every 10 minutes. Yeah, so don't be shocked that your US equities, the percentage gains may go up, but your actual realized gains will go down.
Convert the Sing dollar terms.
Yeah, you hope, of course, with the money printing that it all goes back to the stock market, right? You definitely hope. So the question you have for me is it overconfident in Bitcoin? I'm only confident in one thing: they cannot stop printing.
But there needs to be some exit, right? Like,
yeah. So I think
imagine you go this path all the way until 15 years later. We have this path again, 15 years. Hey, there's still 60 all Bitcoin.
Yeah. The rule is you exit anything for the purposes of changing your life. So if you can send your child to a prestigious school, or you can buy the car you really want, a dream car, buy the house you really want, then that's when you exit lah. So we call it you exit only for life-changing event. That's what Bitcoin.
As in cash out only amounts you need, and you're going to hold on to the asset.
Not you need, only for life-changing events. Right? So in other words, if you're going for a holiday, you don't sell your Bitcoin. You better find a way to earn money and save, and then you go and go for a holiday. Right? Bitcoin is something you keep for a long time. Yeah, that's the way I put it.
Then again, why Bitcoin only? Why not Ethereum?
Yeah, proof of stake and just politics and counterparty risk is the reason why all of the cryptocurrencies never took off lah. Look at Ethereum. I think it's like 2003 today, 2002. I can't remember. I need to check this one. At its peak was 3005. I think it touched 4K or whatever. But that's it. It can never grow past because it's a business. Ethereum, things like Ethereum and Solana, for you to make money, right, you need to be an ecosystem.
Yeah.
You need to help the projects. You need to earn fees, gas, all those things. You need to do all those things, then you can make money from the Ethereum and Solana and base chain also. So all of these things, right, are way too complex and way too time constraining. Bitcoin got nothing to do. You don't want to do anything that you buy Bitcoin. Which is basically why America wants to do all these wars. It prints money to fund wars. What is the thing that guards against this? Bitcoin, right?
But I thought Ethereum is like a bet on blockchain, right?
I think
the best.
Yeah, I mean,
use blockchain.
And but the thing is that that's a bet that has options, right? Which is Solana is the other option, right? And then also when you're betting, are you betting on L1 or L2s, right? And then now with people are making all types of applications on Polygon as well. So they're making yield farming. By the way, there's a lot of interesting yield farming strategies on crypto lah, if you're interested. But as usual, the always the worry with yield is your underlying NAV asset eroded or not lah, right? Alright, so that's the biggest worry lah. But that's the thing. So most people right now in the space, they want Bitcoin products staked and then yield, because they believe in Bitcoin but they want yield. And that's how Singapore should be doing. All the citizens, they don't want 2% T-bill. 2% T-bill is nonsense. Yeah. You bid although you cannot get so far.
So far can, now undersubscribed already.
What's the bid to cover? Yeah, now
The Singapore savings bonds are undersubscribed already.
Yeah.
Back to the good old days where it's not worth a mention.
Which makes no sense because you know that the US 10-year and the US 20-year is going up.
But we are AAA, what?
Yeah,
There's a US dollar risk, what?
and that's why you need to check up.
Depressed.
That's why you need to check up strike and strife, right? Because the question is now, what is the new AAA in the world already? And it's increasingly looking like Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. Bitcoin's CAGR is the new hurdle rate. Yeah.
Oh, is there a possibility that there would be a flattening of that CAGR? It's like it cannot be infinite, right? I mean,
So the Bitcoin scientists they all call it. There are multiple models to map it out because Bitcoin is a finite supply with increasing difficulty applied on the hash rate, so it will follow a power curve. So the growth rate is a power curve. So by my next election,
but power will be a problem also.
Yeah.
Correct.
So energy right? But actually Bitcoin is very interesting because Bitcoin is driving a lot of the world's innovative energy sources like renewable energy because people want to mine more Bitcoin, but they don't know where to find cheap energy. So they're finding geysers, they're finding hydro plants, they're trying to buy land where it's like if I put the water here. So there are a lot of people doing Bitcoin doing this. There are even mining companies in the world whereby they do space mining, right? They hedge out their exposure by buying Bitcoin now because if you mine asteroids in the future, right, all of the world's commodities, right, might look very cheap, because one asteroid might have so much gold that you talk about the growth of Bitcoin is designed, is an idea supported by power energy all over the world by nodes, internet, electricity, design. It's an idea of trust designed by humans that we all must agree that this is the way we account against each other. That's Bitcoin, right?
But still, the question, when would it flatten out that CAGR? We cannot grow infinite, right? Unless you say US, you don't believe US will stop printing money.
Yes.
Okay, maybe US falls down.
So Michael Saylor has famously said he's going for the $450 trillion fixed income market. Okay, I think that's the first step to go for because people want yield, institutional grade yield, right? And I think right now, the US dollar looking very, very shaky, entering all the wars and all the tariff, it's looking like it will start to go for that 450 trillion market. And if it just captures 10% of that, it would bring Bitcoin something to the price of 30 million, 21 million. Yeah. Right? Because what Michael Saylor is doing is taking Bitcoin's volatility and growth and issuing dividend products like Strike and Strive. Is fighting the fixed income market. Is absorbing the fixed income market. So you could see that if the fixed income market is 450 trillion, then you could expect Bitcoin, just 10% of that market would be, Bitcoin will be at least 30 times the orders of magnitude.
It's the same idea again that, okay, this is better alternative.
Correct.
Same with why they should steal some market cap from gold.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it will eventually supersede gold. I think this is a matter of time. Yeah. Yeah.
Understand. Then also just now you mentioned about B.I.T.C.H framework. I'll go back a bit on property because you said 20% to Bitcoin, 20% to
indices,
20% to treasuries, 20% to CPF, and 20% housing.
Yeah.
But actually done some research, and DBS has mentioned that Singaporeans' net worth is 40%.
Correct.
In-house.
Correct. Yeah.
That portion is going to stick with us. And what's your view there?
Okay, so the IB portfolio is 20% this, 20% this, that. Singaporeans, because housing, right, is so expensive, right? You just buy the house that you can afford and then aim for the rest of your investments to make it grow to the point that the housing becomes 20%. Because the worry you have with housing is that, let's just say you buy a affordably priced HDB, right? The thing is that this is the most illiquid part of your portfolio, man. If you sell, you're likely going to pay a higher price unless you downsize, right? And most Singaporeans have a emotional attachment to their house. They don't have. It's not like I can just move anytime, thing, right? So if you get a reasonably sized BTO these days, you put you in 700, 800K. So if you want everything to match roughly, then your target goal should be about, let me eventually get to 700K worth in stocks. Bitcoin.
Oh, so this part 700K, then the rest of the 5.
Exactly.
For
Because HDB also, there's a lease decay to it. So the 700K also, yeah.
still growing.
Yeah.
The least decay is very,
But
very
one
gradual.
thing good about HDB is that even though you see I bought it at 700 plus K, okay. But you're paying very little cash for it. You can, maybe in your mind, maybe we don't put it as a 700K lah. Maybe you see it as your net equity in the house, maybe 350K lah.
Okay.
Right?
Loan
Because you see it, you're renting from the state lah to die in the house lah, right? Then you just see, okay lah, my target is I want to have 200K, 300K CPF. And actually, two people, married couple to hit 300-400K CPF, very easy one, right? Not say very easy lah, but can be done lah.
I understand. I mean, we have to be sensitive to different
different
income ranges.
It's not saying very easy, but it can be done, right? Treasury or T-bill is like your cash on hand lah, right? Split out around 200-300K for each component. Yeah.
Then maybe you can round things up. Talking about policy, because personally, I'm also interested in this debate. How we can make Singapore more affordable for future generations. Jeremy has mentioned some stuff on the website. You can check it out. But I want to directly dive on some ideas that you have in terms of how we can make Singapore affordable. Maybe I can quote also. Right now, in order to possibly slow down the house price appreciation, you have suggested that HDB release land sales data.
Correct.
Is effectively controlling your CPF monies. And your ideas include MOP to stretch it to 15 years if someone takes a grant. Maybe could you explain a bit more these ideas?
There are all the opposition parties and they have discussed this in public lah. But let's just face the truth, okay? All land is owned by the state in Singapore. For them to produce, I think today's report is they're producing 80,000 more in the next 5 years or whatever housing units are, right? That is for them to do more supply control lah. If the government was serious about telling people that land should not be where you think you can appreciate your asset, right, it will be able to do it. The question is whether or not it wants to do it, right?
But it benefits the wealth effect, what?
It benefits the wealth
First of
effect
wealth
if you
from-
can sell it, right? So that's why lease buyback schemes is the thing that they are trying
can unlock
to
for-
tell you, right? Unfortunately, 500,000 HDB flats will cross the 40 to 45-year-old mark in the next 5 years. The depreciation starts getting scarier at the 50-year mark, right? Because based on Bala's curve. So all of the policies I mentioned, right, are just variations of what people have been debating for a long time, right? The real question is whether or not you're going to strip out the land cost from HDB or not, right? Because HDB's prices anchors the 99 years, all the profit from private property these days are from flipping the first 3 years. I mean, Emerald, Katong, Grand Diamond, Mabel, all my area one. Everybody is trying to flip that, right? They are 4 times oversubscribed and the checks are like crazy. People are trying to throw like... And come on, as long as you have that in place, and HDB has a non-transparent land cost inbuilt district, everything around it, right, will be affected on, right? Look at Bidadari. Look at even my area, Dakota Breeze, or even Dawson, all that. The $1 million flats, things will never stop. It will just keep going higher and higher and higher. Yeah.
We should expect our first $2 million HDB next year.
So exactly. What's the record this year? 1.666 1.56, something like that. And the way that we really want to control cost of living in Singapore is twofold. First, we need to rethink the way we design commercial real estate, which is restaurants, why must you only be level 1? You go to Hong Kong, can be level 27. Japan can be like in a corner.
The REIT manager's strategy.
No, exactly, but all land belongs to the state, right? So the REIT, if you make them kowtow, they also have to kowtow, right? It's whether or not you want to do it. So where's the balance, right? Where is the balance? I propose some ideas, I speak about it, which like maybe for major towns, 30 to 40% of the land around it must be HDB commercial real estate. So all the shop house, all that, all owned by HDB, NEA. Why? Because then you can see hawker prices go down. You don't gonna see kopitiam $10,000 per month rent. That's how you see all the things go up, right? F&B always they follow. Let's face it, the cost of living thing is all food, right? We cannot really control our import of chicken kind of thing so well unless we control our ability to have more US dollars and better US dollars. But internally, F&B they always say 30-30-10, which is your overheads, your rent, and your cost of goods. 30, then 10% margin. Right. The one thing that we can control is the rent. The rent is the biggest thing we can control. If, for example, more kopitiams come under the purview of the government instead of private operators, then I think it's good, right? Some of the kopitiam chains are like what, 45 chains in one go on. It's like, it's crazy. And then now even more, China money is coming to buy more kopitiams. You can see yeah. And that's the part that needs to be changed lah. Say like, yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. So rent rise if things can get a bit more controlled. Recently there was some news of $52,000 rent for clinic.
Exactly, yeah.
HDB flat. So
you know how big was the place?
500 square feet. 500 square feet.
500 square feet, right?
500.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Correct. So it's $100 per square foot.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Even malls don't charge that.
But because they are part of a chain, they're looking for exits. And with all the hot money coming to Singapore, they typically go into this kind of thing. Healthcare groups, they go into TCM groups, they go into kopitiams. I honestly think like, look, basic necessities like your shops downstairs, all that, I think more and more should be managed by the government, right? There was back in the days, I remember this, where hawkers can pay like $100 per month for rent, 150.
Now primary schools still pay the kind of very cheap rent.
Yeah. But even primary school, the debate is really about do we want to centralize the food, right? Or do we want, because now a lot of people don't want to do the primary school model because it's very hard to do, right? Yeah. So I think primary school also, cost of living, maybe can centralize the food, like what Korea has done, Indonesia has done. Yeah. I think that would be a better model, but they have to eat combat ration, that's the first thing.
Hopefully you propose more of these and we can get government to think a bit deeper what we can do for all Singaporeans.
Imagine me telling my Mountbatten residents that their kids going to eat combat ration.
No, we have our own food delivery. I mean, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us for today. And as always, if you're listening in, you have questions for us, leave them in the comment section and we'll pick it up.
I mean, we can do a part 2 or whatever next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We can talk about anything. But talking about money is what makes Singaporeans excited.
Let us know. Upvote what topic you want. I'll bring Jeremy in for an after.
Yeah. Hey, thanks.
So thank you so much for watching. Smash the subscribe and we'll see you next episode.
Okay.
Goodbye.